It was nightfall, and the kids' parents were still on the street looking for a great price on Kenner's starting lineup figures, till I gave them this tip, hot-footed over to Children's Palace, where right now you'll uncover Kenner's starting lineup figures for merely $3.99 each. They look just like the real players and come with their own collector's cards, too. At Children's Palace, prices so low you'll want to investigate them all. So head for Children's Palace, where you'll discover how much less toys can cost. Case closed.
What's up, guys? Jason up in New Age Revolution down here in the cave. Down here to take a closer look at another toy line. That's right, grabbing a toy off my shelf, or grabbing an entire line in this case, and taking a closer look at it, and talking about, of course, the connection that I have to the item. Well, today we're going to talk about something that was actually a special request from a friend of the channel. That's right. We're going to take a look at a toy line that leads the world in amount of figures produced. Okay, so you got your G.I. Joes, that's pretty deep. You got your Star Wars figures, that's pretty deep. You know, what else? Well, your Ghostbusters, they got a ton of figures. This particular toy line blows every action figure line away when it comes to the amount of product that this put out. I'm talking about Kenner's starting lineup figures. Yeah, that's right. The first sports-themed figures, the precursors to the, the McFarlane figures, whatever fancy sports figures we got out there today. Starting lineup was the originator of that, and they hit it hard. They debuted in 1988 and went from 2001 and went to 2001. Now here's an indication of how deep this line is. The initial release, okay, in 1988 included 124 figures from MLB, 137 NFL figures, and 85 NBA figures. That's the initial release. 124 baseball players, 137 NFL players, and 85 NBA figures. That's what? That's well over 300 figures in the first release in 1988. So you gotta wonder what was the goal there, right? I mean, back when I collected starting lineup, So my teams growing up, so I wasn't a baseball guy growing up as a kid at all. And I wasn't a basketball guy in 1988. I was definitely, more of a football fan. And I was a Dallas Cowboys guy. So you would think that I would only collect the Dallas Cowboy figures, but I remember having the quarterback I remember having Boomer Esiason, right, from the Bengals. I remember having Lawrence Taylor and Phil Simms from the Giants. I think I remember having Mark Gastineau, and I think he was with the Jets at the time or something. But so there, I guess there was no. But my point is, was Kenner thinking that kids are just going to buy all of these, or were they going to focus on their teams? Because the figures were released in team sets, right? So when you got the back of the card, unfortunately, I don't have any card backs, but they had them separated by team, right? And for the most part, every MLB team or every NFL team or every NBA team would have at least one representative from a team, from their team. So let's take a look. So the memories of starting lineup, I had probably 8 right? At the most at a given time. When I got a little bit older, late teens or so, remember this figure line went to 2001. And then they produced some bigger figures and, some collectible sets and things like that. But the original, 3 3/4 inch figures, I probably had 8 at the max. And as a kid, I would play with them somehow, because that's the beauty of imagination. In 1988, 1989, 1990, I would play with them. Now, how? Well, the football guys, I would just make random plays, right? I would have a quarterback, I would have a receiver, I would have a defender, and I would pretend to throw the ball. The receiver would catch the ball, and there'd be a tackle, and that's what I did. And I had a friend who somehow used the power of imagination to play with the baseball figures, and that's awesome. To create like a desktop baseball game with starting lineup figures. They are beautiful, beautiful figures. Likenesses, okay, we're talking very primitive action figure times. Likenesses are fair for some of them, better for others, worse for others. So, like I was saying, when I got a little older, 16, 17, 18 years old, I focused. I just had a few Dallas Cowboy figures. I was still a fan of the Cowboys back then. And the collection now really isn't much of a collection. I'll show you what I got. Now remember, starting lineup expanded ridiculously. They went into NASCAR. They went into soccer. They went into boxing. Right? They went nuts. Let me check real quick. The starting lineup line was actually created by a former football player, Pat McInally, a professional former Bengals. Yeah, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and to a lesser extent, auto racing, boxing, track and field, skating, soccer, and golf. What? So let me do a quick check here and see how many total starting lineup. Will we get the no, we probably won't get the I'm thinking over 2,000, over 3,000. Yeah, I don't know. Bear with me here. Yeah, look at these price guides. Karl Malone is a $1,000 figure. 1988 Karl Malone, $1,000 figure. John Stockton, $650. Mark Eaton, $400 plus. Lots of money. But don't get too excited, because they're not ridiculously high price figures. Listen to some of these obscure names from the complete set of 1988 basketball figures. 85 figures were released in 1988. Listen to some of these obscure names. Michael Adams, Thurl Bailey, Walter Berry, Michael Cage, Joe Barry Carroll, Michael Cooper, Terry Cummings, Eric Floyd, Winston Garland, Mark Gaminsky. Can you imagine being Mark Gaminsky and having a starting lineup figure? It's outstanding. I would say well over 2 or 3 or 4,000 starting lineup figures are out there. Yeah. Let's take a look at the few that I have. I am currently a Yankees fan, and so whenever I'm at a, back in the day, I haven't done this in a long time, but whenever I was at a toy show or something like that, and they had a little dump bin, there's usually starting lineups in there, and I would grab the Yankees ones, and I was, going to say, I'll just get every Yankee one I can find. That's kind of halted right now. I don't, have that much passion for these anymore. But from, the year is always stamped on these. These are hard to see. Yeah, I'm not sure what the year on this one is, but we got a classic Don Mattingly, right? One of the most classic Yankees players from the 80s, Don Mattingly. And you can see the detail. You could check. Really, if you just throw a mustache on a figure, it's Don Mattingly. But, you got that deal there. And, the thing with the Yankees was they never had their names on the backs of their jerseys. But I would assume that starting lineup had to do that so that the kids knew who they had. But good old 23 Don Mattingly. And the poses are not much you can do here. Like you can get the bat out of Don Mattingly's hand, but you don't want to because it's not going to be easy to put back in there. Yeah, see, you can kind of mess around with the poses, right? I got the bat out, but other than that, you didn't get much pose. You didn't get much out of the baseball figures. They just kind of looked good. We've got Ricky Henderson when his rare stint as a Yankee. But of course, we've got him in the sliding post. Now, this was a cool thing about starting lineup, especially the baseball players. The football players, you had the quarterback, you had guy with hands up, you had the running back who had the ball, and we'll take a look at those in a minute. But the baseball players, there was a lot of things that they could do. Right, so you had some action shots, you had some stretch and catch, and then you got like Ricky Henderson sliding feet first into the bag. Right, so that's pretty cool. Now look at that likeness. Right, that's a bad face scan. Right, that's not Ricky Henderson. So that's kind of the, that's what you got with starting lineup. Right, so he actually displays flat on a shelf, which I think is so cool. Right, great looking figure. Now this is interesting. In 1988, kids wanted to play with toys, so I'm not surprised that kids would try to figure out a way to play with starting lineups. Right, this is 1988. We don't have adult collectibles in 1988. We don't have dorks like me buying up all the toys and putting them on their shelf. We had kids wanting to play with their toys. So basically, statues. I'm surprised that, these were so popular. And then I'm not surprised they were so popular either, because kids figured out how to play with them. I mean, the LJN figures were statues. We figured out how to play with them. We have a second Don Mattingly. I don't know how this one is supposed to look. Is this like, boom, he just launched one and he's watching it go, or what? I don't know. So we got a Don Mattingly, different pose, different uniform. We got a Wade Boggs, that's basically a Don Mattingly face with a different colored mustache. I don't think that's the way the figure is supposed to be posed. One hand has already come off the bat, I assume. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like that. A swing and a miss, follow through, I'm not sure. But there's our Wade Boggs. And then our last Yankee is Lou Gehrig. They did, starting lineup did do like legends of sports, right? So especially baseball, you got a lot of like the Babe Ruths and the Lou Gehrigs and the Willie Mays. Starting lineup did pretty good at recognizing the past. Very cool, very cool. Football, I told you that I had my Dallas Cowboys. And so here is my favorite era of the Cowboys was the early to mid 90s. So we've got Troy Aikman. And again, the baseball players, the helmets come off. Decent face scan. Not scan, but you know what I mean. Decent face there on the Aikman. I always thought that the helmets were pretty awesome. These are great. Let's see if I can get my fingers out of the way. Love the helmets. I thought the helmets were awesome. So I would basically just, when I played, I would basically just have Aikman hike the ball, hike, and then he'd launch it. And then I would actually like launch the ball with Aikman. And the receiver would catch everybody and then get tackled. Troy Aikman, ladies and gentlemen. My other favorite my other favorite player of the era, of course, is Emmett Smith. Another great looking figure with, I don't know, semi-decent face. Right? Got that ball. And that's how all the running backs were. So, Troy Aikman would throw the ball to Emmett. Emmett would pretend catch it, and then run, and then get tackled. So that's how I played. So we got Aikman and Emmett. And the only other Dallas Cowboy that I have is Herschel Walker. And this is not part of a Legends release. This was actually an early release. Number 34, Herschel Walker, the precursor to Emmett Smith. Now, in 1992, the Summer Olympics hit, and we had the greatest basketball team ever established. The Olympics allowed NBA players to play in the Olympics, and we created a dream team. And of course, we dominated the Olympics. But Starting Lineup released a pretty awesome set of the 1992 Dream Team, and it was in a big long box set, I remember, and I still see it at toy shows, overpriced, of course, but I see it, and it's a nice display piece, boxed. And so I don't know, I think I went to a toy show and found half of these guys for 50 cents each, and then I wanted to complete the whole Dream Team line from 92. So I don't know how many more I got to go, but I got the 1992 Dream Team started with Karl Malone that looks nothing like Karl Malone. Let me take a look. Take a look at that face. That's supposed to be Karl Malone. I don't know. I guess we didn't care back then. But Karl Malone, I assume looks kind of like he's doing the back dunk or something, the reverse dunk. I don't know. Pulling down a rebound and breaking his back in the process. Karl Malone. We've got Patrick Ewing going for the layup, I assume. Patrick Ewing, New York Knicks. We've got David Robinson, right? Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. These are classic 90s NBA guys here, guys. San Antonio Spurs, David Robinson. All the basketball players seem to be in the same pose. We've got Charles Barkley. We got Chuck B, who looks nothing like Chuck B. All right, we got Barkley. We've got, now the poses seem to change a little bit. We got Chris Mullin, right, doing his crossover. Chris Mullin. Golden State Warriors. We got my man John Stockton. John Stockton. Right? He's going for the jumper, I assume. Who's this guy? I couldn't even tell you looking at his face who this is, because it just does not look like anybody, but it is Johnson. Was this Larry Johnson? Johnson. Was Larry Johnson on the 92 Dream Team? Because there he is. Doesn't look like anything like Larry Johnson. I'm gonna assume that's LJ. Larry Johnson, I assume. Let's check. Was Larry Johnson on the Dream? So 1992 Dream Team lineup. Let's see who we got. Yeah, I don't know. Magic Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, Larry Johnson, who is even playing in 92. I don't know. It's such bad likeness. Look at that. That's supposed to be Magic. Magic Johnson, and of course Larry Bird. And that's actually decent. It's not a bad Larry Bird looking face, but Larry Bird. There you go. So I'm sure, I'm missing Jordan and Pippen and, I don't know, wasn't Christian Laettner on the team too? They pulled a college player. But anyway, that's the Dream Team set that I have. And then, I don't know what this is. So I have this, and I got it at a toy show for $10. And I don't have a lot of memory about this. But we've got the starting lineup talking baseball game in box. And it says play ball with Winfield, Raines, Trammell, Davis, Mattingly, Ripken, and 40 superstars in the 1980s. 250,000 possible plays for live baseball action that's better than anything you've ever played before. Programmed with 40 superstar statistics so you can make them play like they would in real life. You'll manage like a pro. You've got all their stats on full-color baseball cards. Yeah, so I have no idea. So this came with a ton of baseball cards. And I don't know what you do. I don't remember. I never had this as a kid. So I don't know what you do. Let's take a look inside. I don't know what's in here, what's not in here. It does have a Toys R Us sticker on it and was priced at $89.99. Yeah, there's nothing in here. That's it. There you go. I got no cards in here. I got a cartridge. It came with a cartridge, I guess. So yeah, you plug the cartridge in there, and that's all. It's got some lights, right? Put the lights up in the field, I guess. But that's all. There's no cards in here. So basically, when I bought this, I think I just bought it for the box. I don't remember buying this and why I bought it. I think I just got excited because it was. But this is it, and I guess you bunt, power, squeeze, steal, extra base, swing, timeout, pinch hitter, score, pinch runner. It's LED, so I assume it's like some of those cheap LED handheld video games where lights are basically the action. So I don't know. There you go. There's the starting lineup talking baseball. So that's it. It's not a massive collection. It's definitely not a focal point of any means of the channel, but definitely a big piece of history. And I had a lot of fun with these. Just again, being creative, using imagination, and playing with starting lineups. I assume I'm not the only one. But that's the starting lineup collection. Next, we'll take a look at Cabbage Patch Kids, and we'll go on from there. Thanks for hanging out with me. Good night now.